morning and a huge warm welcome to Carnation Crafts. I have been waiting for today for so long and I am so excited and it's my favourite thing and Miss Taz has had to avoid me this morning because I have been very excited. I love this collection. It's the best thing. So, hey people, hello lovelies. It's the dogs. It's everyone's best friend, and I am so smitten, and I have been so smitten since I first saw this concept. I just wow. Now I'm going to start with a little caveat, just a little caveat to say. I went onto the Tinterweb this morning. Actually, I asked Taz to, and she went on. There are approximately 400 breeds of dog, and Nick couldn't do them all. So there is a good chance that a dog you really wish was there might not be on the collection. Obviously, there is only so much he can do. So what I am going to propose, which Carnation may not love, but is if there's a dog that you'd love, chuck a comment on this post and they watch, right? Carnation watch to make sure that I'm not doing bad things. They watch. So I think there's a potential that maybe they might do an extension pack if there's as many people that want it. I'm not promising anything, it's just the options there. Right, over 50% has already gone. We knew it would. It's going to sell out. We know that it's going to sell out. Of course we do. It's such good value as well. 230820 on the Carnation Crafts website, www.carnationcrafts.co.uk. Show price £64.99. Free UK P&P. It's the best thing I've ever seen. I'm so excited. Can I show you the boards? Look. Look. I don't know all of the breeds, by the way. This one is, what's this? It's a Bedlington something, I think. I don't know. I didn't know that one, but they're so cute. When you look at them on Google, they look like little sheep. But there's so many. I'm not going to try and name them all because I don't know all of the dog breeds, but feast your eyes and hopefully you'll see the ones that you love. And like I say, well, let's try and get an extension pack going if they possibly can. So we've got this here. Each one has got its own individual mat layer as well. So these are beyond sweet for doing little bookmarks. They're absolutely gorgeous for doing little tags. There's so much that you can do with these. They are beautiful. There's even a little kennel. You've got a little dog bowl. You've got a little dog bed. You've got a tennis ball for them to chase. You've got a little bone. It's just really, really cute. Janine, Bedlington Terrier, my hometown. I knew it was a Janine thing. Thank you, Janine, you lovely human. So I hope you've all had a good feasting visual there. Let's move on. That's my boy. I have a German Shepherd called Cornelius. How beautiful are these? Look at their little faces. This is the most insanely awesome set. Look. I'm so in love. I'm so in love. And then we go on. Look at his little face, the little bulldog. There are just so many here. They are just so gorgeous. His beautiful big face. Look, 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 look. And then there are some extra colours as well. Miss Taz, that's like Dawn Wheeler.
Oh my God, it is.
It is Dawn Wheeler. Look at all the beautiful, look. Are these not the cutest things you've ever seen? Is this not the best thing you've ever seen? It's just so, so gorgeous. I am so smitten. Just let me move these because I think it's affecting the colour. You will need what white?
I need some white in it so that they can see it better because it's battling with the black.
That worked. Let me see if I've got some cardstock. Thanks, Miss Taz. Just let me do this. Loving the husky beautiful eyes, aren't they? I love huskies' eyes. There's something about them, wouldn't it? Let me just, I'm just going to put some white paper over half of this so it's not affecting the colours so much so you can see it more clearly. So we'll do half and then half. Look at these, look at their little faces. They are just ridiculously gorgeous, aren't they? And then to show the other half more effectively as well, they're little, look how beautiful they are. Gorgeous. How clever is Nick and the team? How amazing are they at art? Look at this. Beautiful. You love his face, the little dachshund. That's what you want, isn't it, Miss Towns? You want a dachshund. My granddad used to collect, not collect, but he had lots of dachshunds. He sort of did collect dachshunds. Right, so what can we do with these? Well, first of all, we can just fawn over them because they're absolutely stunning. And can I just say a massive thank you to Carnation because I think you've just made my year. I've been waiting for so long for these. Lots of people saying you want cats. I think there's so many ways we could go with this, right, team? We could do so many things. It's God, imagine the possibilities. Like it's a whole world opening up. I can't say hello to you all because there's too many of you here, but hello to you all. Lots of you ordered first thing in the morning. So over 50% has gone. We knew it was going to go because it is ridiculously cute. And also not just ridiculously cute, it's incredibly valuable, isn't it, to have all of those little characters for people that we know who've got dogs. Suddenly the world of card making for individual personalised cards suddenly became a lot easier, right? Because if you're a bit stuck and they've got a dog, we suddenly have a way to send them a personal, individualised card that maybe we wouldn't have had before. So massive thank you for that. Can we look at some finished samples? And then we will get on with some demos. There's so many of you here this morning. It's so lovely to see you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining us. House Panthers. I've got some House Panthers. Yeah, they're just amazing. We loves them. So, cuteness overload, just to show you the background here, and then look. You're not going to make a bad card with these. There's absolutely no way of making a bad card with any of these. These are just incredible. Thank you, Janine, for sorting these samples for us. You've got this with your many stepper card. Look at that. If that's not an awesome card, I don't know what is. Can I show it this way, Miss Taz? And then, look! That's just stunning. Janine, you're a clever, clever, clever human. Just so good. So good. Really, really epic. And then we've got... Is that Glamour of Winter? I love so his little paw coming out of the front. Oh my goodness. Look at these. Just ridiculously divine. The thing is, there's so many people that love dogs, isn't there? And so many people that love animals. They're just a really awesome, awesome way of being able to take that out. I know lots of you are saying that you wish they could be individual. I don't think they'll do them individually. It's just a set that they've brought out. It's a crafter's select, so I don't think that's going to happen just because it's a kit, basically. But when you start seeing the metal, I've got one on my magnetic sheets. When you start to see what you're getting, it's just an insane amount of dies here. And I'm not going to try and count them all because each one's obviously got two, pretty much with the exception of the bone and all of those. Each one's got its own mat, and then it's got the dog and so on and so forth. I have to say, this is a perfect example of when your magnetic sheets are going to be the most handy because they are obviously, there's so many of them. There's so many dies on here. It is just like having the best time ever with our best friends. So let's have a look at demo and let's see where we're going to go with this. I'm so sorry that I can't shout you all out because there's just so many of you here. They look great in the Santa hat. There's so many possibilities. They could see when we did the gnomes. You know, the big boot? To have the little dogs in the big boot would be super, super sweet. Right. I'm going to do some variants of demos. So I've got some, just so you all know before I begin, I've got some that are I've got an 8x8, I've got some that are a little bit busier and some that are very clean. So I'm trying to do it both ways for all of you that like all the different crafting, and we will get all of these through. I've got 3 demos. I'm hoping to do all 3 of them. We should have time for that. And we can get all of the things done. I don't think I've ever been so excited about something as I am with this collection. Just makes me really happy. Ooh, these are gorgeous. Aren't they gorgeous? Right, so what I've done here is taken a sheet of A4 and I've scored it, and I've just got a turn on it basically. So all I'm doing is just kind of an over the edge card for it. It's just an easy way of doing things. Oh, sorry, Carnation Crafts, the vignettes. Yes. Sorry, Taz, is that you that's just put that? Just to let you know, the vignettes. So because you've got additional colorways as well, I'm pretty sure it'll all be available after the show. And they do that so especially because it's selling so fast. So it just frees everything up. They'll be available later on this afternoon for you to get. So what I've done is where I've scored it, and then I've scored it sort of here. Can you see where I've kept that there? All right. That's going to give me my Z fold. And it just makes it easier for the card to stand. It makes it more stable. So then I've got my mats and layers here. I'm using some perfect papers. I've got them all flat. They're on finger lift tape just so that I can get them in place. So I'm going to take this down. These obviously need to be flat. They can't be raised because the front part won't sit right if it's got foam tape and any lift on it. Look at that vibrant colour. Just stunning. That'd be a really lovely Christmas green as well, wouldn't it? Really pretty. Taking through with the lighter hues. The thing about working with these kind of things when we do the Crafter Select that's really lovely is we get to revisit other collections and use them in those ways, and other card shapes. I really like the idea that I get to play and, you know, do different things with it. So I'm just going to place in, make sure I'm about even, and then cool my tones, because working on that dark green will make my eyes fizzy. Nobody wants fizzy eyes, Miss Tiz Taz. Nobody wants the eyes that are fizzy. I think the team at Carnation HQ this morning will be super busy, already picking, packing and posting. So lots of you who have ordered already will have it through your door tomorrow morning. That's always nice to know. Right, what I'm going to do is match that. Now I have to be careful where I'm placing it because I need my lines to match. So the first mat that I put here has to match in with this one. Otherwise I'm not going to have a fluid view. Now the problem that I've got is obviously I'm working on an overhead, and so I can't lean forward too much. So mine may be on the wonk, but just to let you know, the best way to do this is properly line it. And it will look very pretty if I can take the finger lift tape off. There we go. Hey up. So as best I can, Miss Taz?
Yeah.
I'm on the wonk. Hey up. About there I'm going to go. Oh, you guys at home know what to do. Joe Jasper ordered mine, super excited. I know, you're going to have them and you're going to get to do the things. We love it when we get to do the things. Let me try it with my pokey. I might find life a little easier that way. Right. So, now we're getting our elements in. And we've got our baseline. It's usually a case of just tackling all of your adhesives in the right way, but it gets very hot in the studio and everything starts to melt, and the adhesive on our tapes melts a little bit in here. We're working strong overhead lights. I've already put a dirty mark on that. That's the kind of human we are, and that's what we're playing with. Right, elements. So I'll try and put as many on here as I can so you can see. what I'm working with if you want to follow along and do something similar. And place through. So for any of you who's interested at home, and I'm sure none of you are, I have got the most beautiful German Shepherd. He is a King Shepherd, so when he stands on his back paws, he is 6 foot tall, called Cornelius, and he's currently with my mum because I'm not allowed him in this house, but he is my absolute best friend and my little soulmate. I love him very, very much. So these are the elements that I'm working from. I want to be able to tell you which collection, but I can't off the top of my head because it's gone out of my head. We'll find it. But all of these elements are coming together. Obviously, once we've got that kind of outdoorsy feel, it fits perfectly, doesn't it, with dogs. And I tell you where I think these would look amazing and what other collection I think they would look amazing is Wonderful World, where you've got all the buildings and all of those things, that very outdoorsy feel, those long pieces of grass that we've got at the front of the buildings. I just think these would look amazing. But you know the card shape where you pull one side and the whole thing comes out, that mechanism that we had in Wonderful World? Can you imagine that with a line of dogs just going through and then different backgrounds in the back? It would just be incredible. Really, really beautiful. So remember thinking of your playways, certainly with outdoors. I'm using Just Passing By. I actually thought it was Just Passing By, and then I was going to say it, and I was like, I don't think that's the right name, Carl. It's Just Passing By. You have a Bedlington Terrier. Cute. Just Passing By. Thanks, Kirsty. You're an absolute legend. Kirsty is one of our unsung heroes. We don't mention Kirsty very often, but she works in the office at Carnation. She's the one that keeps me straight. And she is an absolute genius and an absolute hero, Kirsty. We don't say it often enough, but you are incredible. So thank you for everything. Right, let's do all of these. Vanessa, are they going to do perfect papers for the dogs? No, and the reason they don't do perfect papers is these are kind of an established format in order for you to visit collections that you already have. They're an addition to things that we already have. So the idea would be, like I'm doing here, where I'm using the Just Passing By collection. I can add in the dogs to those. I can add them into Wonderful World, that kind of thing. And the idea is that we get to play with everything we've got from Carnation because we've got so many beautiful things that we can do things with and expand upon. So I hope that helps. That's the reason why they don't, and it just makes sense a little bit. I am just going to reiterate, this is 230820 on the Carnation Crafts website, which is www.carnationcrafts.co.uk. Show price of $64.99, free UK P&P. It's not going to last, and we've already sold way over half of this, way over it. So please, 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 if you want it, pause, go do what you need to do. This will still be here. Kate Jude, will they do this on a USB? I wouldn't have thought so. I'm not saying categorically, but I wouldn't think. Is it? It's Kirsty's birthday. Happy birthday, Kirsty. I would sing, but nobody needs that. Happy, happy birthday, you wonderful, wonderful human. Right, let's put all these little elements onto here. Now I'm starting out with a little door, and I'm going to put the gate sort of at the other side, so it's going to come through. So I'm going to place it slightly higher and just over to this side, just so I've got the spacing correctly and I can work out a grounding device for it. But I want to tuck some elements behind, so I'm not too quick to stick everything down completely. But look at this. I love Just Passing By. I think it's such a gorgeous, gorgeous. Oh, thank you, Miss Taz. Just Passing By is 211034 89.99 on the Carnation Crafts website if anybody is interested in it. It's a gorgeous collection. Right. So we've got this beautiful fanning out, which allows me to use some of the white space and allows it to go sort of straight in, but it's still got breathing space, if that makes sense. We're just working with textural background pieces. I say all the time, those are some of our most important pieces. I absolutely stick by it because when we've got those elements, it gives sort of extra pieces for us to do. Linda, do you get the downloads for the dogs? Linda, you absolutely do. They will be available after the show. And that is just so people who are on the website at the moment buying this can check out. Otherwise, because the backgrounds, the vignettes are a checkout process, it just clogs up the wheels a bit, so they make it just a little bit easier for everybody. So at the minute I'm going to keep that where it is. I am going to need some kind of grounding device, and I will come back to that, but I just want to work out where I'm going with the rest of the card first. So I'm going to put the gate in. I might put the gate at the front of the house. I'm going to work out where I'm going first. I've got the wall. This is such a valuable piece, that is. And all the time we're going to have to turn over and make sure that everything is seated in the right way, because if I've got the line for my house here, I need this to kind of line up with it too. I'm going to have that reference point that gives me a grounding, otherwise it won't make sense. Because I'm using the wall, and I'm going to use 2 of them, because I'm using them, that's going to allow that to happen. Oh. By heck, my brain did all kinds of things then, Miss Taz. Did you see? I had a moment. So I'm just going to piece those together to create a fuller brick wall. And what I'm doing is heading it over as much as I can, but I still want a hint of it coming through because I need to ground out my letterbox. So by doing that, I ground out the house and I ground out the letterbox. Everything now makes sense because we have that strong line going at the bottom. Linda Stevens, does anyone know which collection the wall is from? Yes, it's from Just Passing By. That is, we did have a number for it a minute ago and I can't remember. Sorry, Miss Taz, did you get rid of it? It's Just Passing By. Just whip to the Carnation Crafts website, type in Just Passing By and you will find it there. Little elements of glue, not too much. Yes, Miss Taz.
I'll post the link. I've still got the link.
Have you got the link? Oh, you're a wonderful human. Miss Taz is going to post you the link so you can find it. That'll be easier for you all. So I've got my lovely brick wall sitting there. I love that piece so much. There's value in elements like this from the Carnation team. For us crafters, it's important. Now, the great thing about this is I can actually shape out my post box because the front of the card obviously is not interfering with it. So now I can get a rounding on this. Not going to do it with a ball tool. What I'm actually going to do is take the top part, push it back, take the next section and push that back, okay? Then I'm going to just wiggle and a jiggle on that top piece. That's going to give me a beautiful rounding. As you can see, I get that curvature. Then I've got cut lines that go all the way down and all the way down. What that allows me to do is pinch. And I can just go through. Can you see how those cut lines are coming? So I'm getting these elements that stick differently. And just go through. So now, can you see how that then balances and comes through and it looks super, super pretty. So pin flare, just squeeze some on, just enough for your adhesion. Make sure I'm lining up and just squidge some of that down. New home, I've got my sentiment. Making sure that that can still lift. That's on foam tape, so I'm lifting. So I've got those gorgeous elements that come through. Now, I've got this. I can put it in front of the house, which is what I think I'm going to do because I think it's super pretty. And I think it allows perspective to go back. And I think that's what I'm looking for, is that joy of the perspective moving backwards. But I need to line it up. Now, if you wanted to lower your grounding device, you absolutely can by pulling this down here. And what that looks like, obviously, is that it's almost like a walkway to the house. I like to keep it somewhere midline, so I'm going to go to that point there. So the gate, the bottom part of the gate meets my brick doorstep, and to me that makes visually that makes sense. This is when your applicators come in, guys. Tiny amounts of glue, just going through. So just meeting that point there. Placing through. Look at that. I love this set so much. Just Passing By is it's so gorgeous, isn't it? Joe Jasper, may I ask where you get your foam tape from, please? Yes, you may. At the minute, I'm getting it from Amazon. It's just insulation foam tape, and it's double-sided, and it comes in huge rolls. And so if you put into Amazon double-sided insulation foam tape, it'll come up there and it'll allow you to search on size. So I'll put in like double-sided insulation tape, foam tape, 5mm. Bless you, Miss Taz, and I'll get that there. Now, this looks very, very naked on the inside, and it doesn't look appropriate. It's not built. So I am going to do this. Take my ball tools. Never far away from a ball tool. I love, love, love them so much. Right. What I'm going to do is work through. Now, where I've got these, if I lift here, can you see that these raise? Because of the cut lines that Nick's put in them. Can you see that? So I've got that sort of little piece there. I'm going to use that to my advantage. Now the reason that that helps is because when I'm using the ball tool, it will open that up. And that helps. You've got to try to choose an appropriate size, but because we've got so many cut lines in it, you can go with a bigger ball tool because you're not destroying the element. It's just poking through. Linda says, not having any luck ordering. It's because it's so busy. Linda, keep trying. Hopefully it will go through for you. The number is 230820. It will all hopefully see you through. Right. I can spiral through this because of all of those break lines in this die. So I'm using the ball tool to spiral round, working around those leaves. If you want to get super, super technical with this, you can take a very, very small ball tool, and where you've got a break in your leaves, such as here, I can take that small ball tool. I can literally push each of those. Now this is the sort of thing that I do if I'm making cards and I've got all the time in the world to do them, because what happens is we get this beautiful shape in that's slightly different because they're all coming out. So suddenly I have an element that's extra to what it was to to be original, and it's really, really useful to use. But it is time consuming, and it's something you commit to and then do. Make sure my pin flare's working. And let's put lots of this on here. Let's get some real splodges going on. Build some height, build some texture. Again, I've got to be reasonably careful about my grounding device. I don't want this sitting too far forward. It wouldn't have too much of a problem in as much as perspective-wise, this would just be something at the bottom. But I'm going to aim for about the right height. So I'm going to bring this in here. Same again with shape. Just adding through. So this is just going to give me some texture and colour. Now there's a very specific reason that I'm using pin flare here, and that's because I'm going to have to pull it forward to poke my little characters through, so I can have them at different heights, different angles, doing different things. And in order to achieve that, pin flare is going to allow me that pull, but it means on a composition level I can get my composition sorted before I have to commit. And that's just a really useful tool to have, and that's why pin flare for me is such a valuable asset in my crafting. So, chuck in some of this onto here. So I'm creating that long line across. Now, I can choose to put some added pieces here, but what I'm going to do with this is place it over kind of this edge. I'm just going to tuck it behind because I just want a pop of colour coming through. And again, I've got one more in the red. The vibrancy of this collection is just epic. I love it, love it, love it. This one I'm just going to gently wheel because now I'm building a lot of height and I don't want to build too much. And I think I'll just have a poke of this just sitting and tucked back. Look at that. Those beautiful layers. You see how we're getting the idea that they are going back? That we have this idea of points of difference. Now, I don't want it to still be as naked as that. I do apologise for that smudge. I don't still want it to be as naked as that. What I'm going to do is just add in a character, and I'm going for a tall character because I'm going to steal some of that white space. And white space is great, but sometimes it's nice to just steal some of it. So we've got the little baby Alsatian here. And I'm going to shape him. Now, when it comes to your dogs, when it comes to any characters that we're shaping, and we're looking at how we shape them in a way that kind of gives us a little bit of extra. It's always really important. It's the best breakdown I can give you. Look at Nick's work first and break it down. So before we go in with the ball tool, if I take this one, this is the same with any characters. If I look at Nick's work and the team's work, I've got his snout, I've got his ears, I've got his chest line, that V that comes through his chest here. I've got his legs and I've got his hind quarter. Okay, so if we can separate that out when we're using a ball tool, instead of just going in and going, oh, well, I'll give him some shape. If you can take the time to separate out Nick's artwork and use him as your guide, you'll get this really beautiful musculature shape coming through. It's really lovely and really effective. And I'm going to work with that now. So starting off with his logs. Look at that ear. I might actually do his ear the other way in a second. So I'm going to work on his snout. So I'm pulling from where I have got broken fibres here, and I'm going to pull down on his snout. What that's going to do is raise it on the other side to the rest of his face. So if you think of a dog, you think of your own face, your nose is protruding. It obviously protrudes, and we're following that. I can do his tongue separately. I'll take a little ball tool for this. Again, that will protrude. And then I can take his shaping out, his V line here, which is going to allow me to shape that out. And I'm just working with the muscles that Nick has drawn in. So then working down on his paws. And then I'm just going to work on his hind quarter, just with that ball tool. Changing the size of your ball tool continually while you're working will give you the most appropriate results. So once I've done that, I can turn him around, pull him forward. You see the shaping I've got here? Now what I'm going to do is just go back in, and I'm going to pull this wild ear the other way. Because German Shepherds have got the cutest little ears. Then I fill him with pin flare. That's going to allow him to sit forward. It's going to allow all the bits that I've just shaped out to stand out. Look at him. You see how we get that shape in? I don't know if I can show you this. I'll try it on the overhead. You see that? That shape in. So we've got his neckline going in, his body coming out, his ear sticking out. We've got all of the elements that we need in order to keep him exactly where it is. Super, super lovely. And he's sitting on that wall, and he is so very, very proud of his little self. Now, I want to work with other characters as well. So I'm going to place that down for a second. He'll be a little surprised when the card opens. I've got my little Chihuahua, and I've got my terrier here. I've got a water bowl, and I've got a little dog bone. Now, my little, I want to call it a stable. That's not the right word, Miss Taz. It's not stable. It's a kennel. Ridiculous human. So I'm going to place this in here, but I need to put the dog behind it. Otherwise, I've got this weird sort of open kennel. So the dog's going to take the place of that. Now, I can tuck it behind the wall and have it a little bit higher and pop the dog there. And if you want to have that white background, that absolutely can be done. And it looks quite cute, right? But if we take this, if you take his little lallies and you tuck him and you slide him in, turn him round, he looks like he's just sitting behind. Okay, now I want to shape him obviously first, but I just wanted to show you how he can work with that little kennel. So his little ears, working with his face line. So on this one, the nose is a smaller snout. So I'm going to work with that first. Then I'm going to follow around his eye line. Just always stealing Nick's artwork where his lines are. I'm trusting Nick's work to work with. So just following around. I'm just going to use a smaller ball tool just on his snout again. His little face. Look. Now what I might do, I think I'm going to continually just pull the logs in the opposite direction. so that they are protruding and they've got life away from the card. If you want to get them really protruded, just use the ball tool right up the edge of his head and his ear. So the more I work on that line, the higher they will go. Okay, that's just allowing it to sculpt. So now I've got a little bulbous head, I've got a little bulbous body, and I've got 2 ears that stick right forward. And he is just super cute and ready to play. Get my pin flare where I need it. Get this, tuck him in. Get his little paws where I want them. Now he's not adhered obviously to the house at this point, and I need him to be. He's got pin flare on the back, but that is so I can adhere him to the card. So I'm just going to make sure I've pinned one of his ears. Tiny amount of glue. He's going to get that pinned there, and then I need to pin the kennel. Let's pop him on the wall because he looks quite sweet there and quite happy. He's beautiful, isn't he? Isn't this just the most crazy, awesome kit? Finally, we're going to go in with our terrier again with the sculpt in follow Nick. So he's got obviously this moustache that comes out, not as similar to my own moustache. And that's going to go there. Get his little tongue. Work on his headline. Follow Nick's work. Down on his paws. And then turn it for his hind quarter. Pull. So then you've got the shape in with that dimension that pulls the neck in, and it just gives it the right shape out. He's going to go down here. He's going to be the welcome. Now he's the showstopper. He's the one at the front, so I can afford that perspective value that sits there. So he's going to be the one that is the most prominent on the card. So he's going to have a little food bowl. I'm just going to shape out. A little bit of pin flare on that. Stick it next to him. And I've got the little bone. I love this little bone. Tiny, tiny ball tool here. Just going through. Pull it out. Now, I'm going to use tiny amounts of pin flare, but I do want the pin flare because I still want the lift, but just small amounts. Remember, this will dry solid, so it will give it a tiny little lift, not huge, and I'm just going to tuck that into his little water bowl, his little food bowl, and just up towards him. Other than the fingerprint smidge on it, we have a really gorgeous, gorgeous card. All of the little elements that come through. Okay. Has that gone on the wonk, Miss Taz? There we go. Cute as a button, right? Really, really love, love, love this set. Just so gorgeous. That's one way of playing. That's a busier way of playing. It's a fuller demo. We're going to do other ones as well. Let's go with some florals, because we know that Carnation do florals so well. It's such a treat playing with the old collections, getting them out and having a look at them, because I forget, because I've obviously worked with so many of them. I've got my card base sitting here, just obviously scored down that midline so that I can work with the front part. I normally do the scoring, but if my paper's big enough to start with, I can just do it, especially when we're working with a rectangular shape. Sometimes that becomes easier. I've got my mats and layers in place, and obviously I'm then using foam tape to build height on these as well, but this one will sit flat. Hey up. See how many fingerprints I can get on this one. Seems to be my skill, Miss Taz, my talent. Gorgeous scallop edging. That's a bit on the wonk, but we'll live. There we go. Right, what I've done here is use one of Carnation's background papers, which is just sublime. Their papers are second to none. I love kind of that. Sometimes they do like a almost, what's the word I'm looking at? Like a grunge. But it's not overdone. Sometimes grunge and that kind of thing, steampunk types, it can be overdone. And I really love that Carnation don't do that. They don't kind of throw it at me, they gently deliver it, and I think that's a really nice way to work when we're working with cards. So just pulling this back, this is a 1mm, so slight bit lift. We're not changing the world. Karen Jane Crafts ordered hers as well. I'm so excited for you to all get, please, please, please put your cards in the group so I can see them. This is my favourite collection. Then, look at this grayscale. Look at how we play and how we mute tones, how we soften the green by using grey. See that coming through? What a beautiful line out, isn't it? Now, what I'm going to do with this is place it to the edge of the card. It's going to be a border shaping on my card, and that's how I'm going to use it, you know, predominantly. I've got 2 lines of foam tape here. I'm actually only going to use one of them. Now I can choose to do it in 2 ways. I want it to stick obviously, and I don't want this to sit forward. And if I only use one line of that tape, it is going to sit forward a little more than I want it to. It'll flap, you know, because it's got what it needs. But just in case I want to tuck something under it, because I haven't got a huge amount of room here, I can work with it in a different way. So what I can do is take this piece off altogether, because that's going to be at this side. So I can strip that, but then what I can do is take this, just get some of the adhesive from the top and steal it. So if I take it and then I tear the liner, so now I've still got that. I can still use that to tuck if I need to. I don't know if I'm going to tuck, but it's just one of those things that it allows me an extra option later down the line when I'm composing. And it's a really nice way of just giving me a bit of breathing space. So sometimes if you need if you're in the midst of trying to do composition and you're not quite certain whether you're going to be doing this, that or the other, those little tips and tricks where you just allow it to stick but you've still got some give, I can still tuck at the bottom but it's still secure. They're really, really useful pieces that I've learned over time because I'm hopeless most of the time. And then the other ones we can just use as normal. But it's got that lovely element to it. It's a bit warm in here, Miss Taz, isn't it? You got your little fan on? You okay? In the corner, Miss Taz, you're very quiet. Pin that down. You've normally shouted at me at least 3 times. You've been nice to me today, Miss Taz.
You made me out to be some kind of monster.
You're a wonderful human. Do you know Miss Taz has made me, I think, 3 coffees this morning, so she's my best friend. She's been a very, very lovely human. I'm just going to place this on top. And place down. Look at that. See how that grey and that green are just a really smooth transition? It's a really pretty, it tones down the strength of the green. It just has that element, but I still want to cool the tones. And this is one of the most gorgeous, look at that. Suddenly I have a lace napkin. I've used red liner tape on the bottom of this. Oh. And I'm just going to lay it just over the edge. And I'll get all the shadow from underneath because this isn't touching the card base. And that's because obviously we've got the lift on the border. So sometimes borders can be one of our most useful things. They can be our best friend. Now I've got this beautiful floral. I've got the stems. I've got my 2 little chaps here. And I've got a sentiment stamp as well. And then I've got big lad over here. So I can choose. These are already decoupaged up, so all I need to do is just root through, just lift. Now that I'm actually using it as a committed piece, I can raise up my decoupage and just allow that to have some little lift on it, and that's just going to give a bit of texture out there. Don't need to go too far. You could use a ball tool, no real need to. Once you've got flat, if you've got flat decoupage, you can just lift with your fingers and it'll give you a nice sculpting out. It gives you a nice oomph on your piece. Now I can choose to lay it there, which I will tell you in advance is where I'm going to lay it, but I do have choices. I can lay it there. I could, theoretically, because I've left myself that space, lay it across as well, which is incredibly beautiful, isn't it? Really pretty. I'm going to stick with where I was going to place it, but just options, options, options. So a little bit of the pin flare. I'm going to fill my pin flare up in a second. Ground it out. Allow that lift and raise. Pretty as a picture. So, so pretty. So what I'm going to do with my stem is work that under. I'm going to tuck that in, and that is going to just allow a little bit of colour relief. It's just a tiny bit of white for a colour relief, and that's all I'm looking for here. So I've never ever worked with a Carnation collection where I've wanted to get the base bits done so fast so that I can work on the dogs, because they are just sumptuous. Love them. Tuck, raise, over to my corner line. Create your diagonal, get your visual strengthening, and that will sit there. If you haven't got enough adhesive, you can add. You can't take it away. Let me just make sure that's where it needs to be, which is here. Actually, I quite liked it up there. I wonder if I can manipulate. There we go. The rest you leave free. That gives you your shadows. All we're doing is pinning. And then this is going to sit and tuck, and it's going to come down. So I'm creating that beautiful floral essence that's coming through. And I'll lay it fairly flat, mainly because I'm running out of pin flare. So I'll just go in tiny amounts of wet glue, tuck, pin. Gorgeous, right? Wishing you well. Now, the stars of the show. Let me just fill my pin flare up, and then I'm not scrimping. Bear with. It's my favourite thing, pin flare. I love pin flare. There's been a lot of debate recently about the smell of pin flare, and I've come to a weird conclusion about it. I can't smell pin flare at all, and other people find it really strong smell. So I think there's something in pin flare that some people can smell and others can't. That's my conclusion, because I can't smell it at all. Right, look at his face. He's beautiful to shape out. The reason being is what we have here are long lines. See where his chest, that central point down his chest, that's a really beautiful shaping out point. We're dividing all the time. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points of shaping at this point, and each one can be shaped differently. So I'm going to take the larger ball tool first. I'm working this side first because the fibres are cut. So straight down his haunches to his paw. Straight down his midline now that I have just broken those fibres. Then his little paws. His chops, just here. Then I'm going to take his snout, and his snout I'm going to start from the top, so I break those fibres and pull it through. So I'm just going to bring this down on his little forehead line and work his snout. Then I'm going to turn him over, as daft as this seems. I'm then going to push this back. I broke the fibres, so now I can push it back and I can recess this part of his snout. Okay, then I can turn him back over and start working on the rest of his face. Then I'll turn him, I'll do his lugs this way. Work mainly around his head shape, around his ears. And I'm just going to squish his neck down a little bit so that I get that beautiful lift and raise. Gorgeous, gorgeous shape. It's so, so nice. Fill his little body. And he is obviously going to be my long line. So I'm going to seat him right at the edge of the card. Why? Why him at the edge? Method to my madness. Because I've got the other two, the two Litleys, okay? He's going to be sort of hidden. I can put him behind and ground him that way. I can put him behind and ground him behind, or I can put them side by side. The reason I've put the largest one over to this side is because I've got the long line of the floral here. Then I've got the sentiment here. So I need the long line to parry at the other side, and I can create the diagonal down, which allows the flow of the vine, if you like, going behind. So we're always trying to streamline, because if I turn it the other way, oh, I can't because I've stuck him down. If I have my long line going down this way, the card has, everything's fallen to the bottom. And that's what it sort of looks like everything's slipped. Whereas if we can parry the long line on either side, that's going to help me create a nice visual cue when you're looking at it that will draw the eye in the right way. And that it's just simple techniques, but they do work. And it is only a tiny thing, but it looks so gorgeous. Look at his Hey, Miss Taz. I think Miss Taz has had enough of me talking about the dogs, because I think it's been now, how long now? 2 weeks. 2 weeks of me saying to Miss Taz, you wait, you wait. Bless her. So we're going to pull through and round and round. Pull his little cheeks. And then we're going to just go down on those lines that Nick's given us. Pull his little legs. And then his back legs, his little tummy, and I'm just going to give a little rounding out to the inside of his tummy too. Then I'm going to obviously pull, and I've got that gorgeous shape in. You could really go to town on him. You could use the tiniest ball tool and get into every little wrinkle, and you'll really pull it forward. So take time with him. He's lovely to shape. They all are, but obviously some we can get the most insane detail with when we're sculpting. So I'm going to put him, and he's going to tuck just behind here, and that's going to leave me enough room for my beautiful spaniel. So turn him, ears. His ears I am going to do from behind because I want them to have that puff out. So taking the small ball tool and working around the edge, then follow that down and round, down and round. Then his snout. Again, we want that recess on the other side. So starting with your broken edge, bring this down. Work his snout. Turn him round. Pull his forehead back. And then work his little face. And then we're going to go in with a larger ball tool and work his body shape. Can you see here where this comes round and you've got that shade line, and then this comes round and you've got that shade line? We're going to work with that. So pulling through. All the visual cues we need for sculpting are on Nick's work or on the artist's work. It's all there. We have got every cue we need visually to shape and sculpt. That's why Carnation have got such a strong artwork and why it's done purposefully. Nothing's done by mistake with Carnation. It's done so that we can create the best sculpted pieces. And there he sits as well. So I've got all three of them sitting very merrily. Just put his little paws there. Make sure they're grounded out at the bottom. I can then just wiggle him and a jiggle him. Just beyond sweet. Cute as a button, right? Just really, really gorgeous cards. Just beautiful. Kerry Jane says, "Hi Carla, we're going shopping soon as my other half has ran out of reasons as to why we can't have one." None of you know who Kerry Jane is, but we love Kerry Jane. She's part of Carnation. And her other half is a very important part of the team. And Kerry, you definitely need to get a dog. That's just the law. Right, one last demo. Natalie Dodds having issues with the Tinternet today. In Padstow, worst day for it. Silver definitely rewatching. There's loads to just, you know, enjoy. So don't feel rushed with it. Right. That colour is just insanely pretty. Let me get where my head is with this collection because my head's going to go. I want to say there's pieces from Nature in Motion in here as well, but this card shape is from not Grace and Calm, I think. Can someone at Carnation tell me I'm wrong? I normally am. Grace and Calm, I'm pretty sure. Oh, look, I forgot my tape. Let's finger lift this. Place down. Not using foam tape, don't want any extension on it. Just personal choice, but I don't want extension on this as far as height is concerned. Because this card shape is so breathtakingly strong on its own. I don't need to over egg the pudding. Okay. Isn't that so fresh and pretty and clean? Really beautiful, beautiful card shape. The colours are really, really gorgeous in this. It's got that really, it's clean, isn't it? Really clean sense to it. Now I'm going to use some wet glue for this. Just little dabs. And I don't normally do that, but I need some slip and slide with this because it's got the two curvatures at the side. I need to know that it has got into the right place. And if I put you know, a red line or something like that on, my commitment is instant. And so by doing it this way, I can literally wiggle and a jiggle until I have, you know, until I've found my mark. And then I can commit down. It's just going to make my life a little bit easier. So just placing through. Susan Chither says, will this come to USB? Listen, guys, I can't say definitively. I'll tell you what I think, and I don't think so. No, I'm not saying definitely not. I don't know, but I can't see it because they don't often bring these collections to USB because they obviously, with the USBs, you get 3 full collections on each ones of dies that have gone in the previous. And this isn't like a collection. Our new launch comes out next week. This is like a Crafter Select. It's an added bonus. It's a little extra. So I could be wrong, and I apologise to Carnation if I am. That's my knowledge of it, my understanding of it. Now I'm going to fill in that gap with this. So we're working with layers. We're bringing in those visuals. Grace and Calm, Carol Hart. I did think it was Grace and Hart. Grace and Hart? Good Lord. Grace and Calm. This one I'm going to use a little bit of pin flare for, just so I can long line that. Don't want much depth or height, but I just want to squish it into place. Now, this card shape has got the most gorgeous outline to it. Now, because I use pin flare, I can squidge around, get it exactly where I want it, okay? Sometimes your adhesive will be the making and the breaking of a card, which sounds really, really over the top, but it is true, because depending on the adhesive, if you've got one that is an instant hit and you've got nowhere to go with it, one mistake and it's out, whereas others are more forgiving. So I'm just going to fill in my corners. how beautiful that is. Looks like an Easter egg, doesn't it? Should have an Easter egg. Should have chocolate in it, Miss Taz. Miss Taz, chocolate. Placing through, look at those colours. Making sure I'm lined. Got that lined up. And place. I'll be totally honest, that on its own is just so beautiful, right? There's something about that card shape. Right.
It reminds me of a particular high-end jewellery brand.
A little Tiffany.
Just slightly.
I think we're alone now. Oh, you won't remember that. Oh, you might do. You like 80s music, don't you? Right. Fairly sure these flowers are from Nature in Motion. And then, I love their light work so much. Isn't that gorgeous? Now, what I'm going to do with the light work is just use it as, because I've got the filigree around the edge here, I'm going to use this to detail out just on the inside as if it's all part of the same thing. And then I'll add in some florals. So this is just to give it a very delicate, very fresh white background. So I don't really need to worry about where this goes as in terms of the card closing at the front, because it will be seen, because it's my midline, my point of vision. So none of it stretches beyond my curvature at the side, so I know it's going to be seen visually this way. It's not a problem. However, the bottom florals that I'm going with, these ones, I need to get them seated, because what I want them to do essentially, they're not obviously going to go out the side of that, but man alive, that's pretty. And you could do that. You could pin that down and use it as a full card base, cut this twice and have and you know, do the scoring and put in it behind. Kate Jude, I don't really understand white work. Okay, white work it's something that is really, really important for contrast. White on white is a really effective tool in as much as if I put two colours that are really strong together, they obviously parallelly, oh, well, you can tell, can't you? You know, you've got like an orange and a yellow. You can see the difference. Obviously, when we're working with white, we don't necessarily get that. But what we get is, by it just raising, and when we don't pin everything down, we'll get a shadow below it. So the reason that the light works are so important is, what I'm doing is I'm not stealing the background. I'm not stealing that colour. I'm not over facing the card with the colour. It's just a background textural point. So visually, because I mean, I love working white on white, so I'm not scared of working white on white. Lots of people don't like to, and I understand why. But because I've got that visual breeze behind, it gives me that textural element, and it's really pretty. If you glue the whole lot down, it can look like it's embossed or debossed, so you get a different patterning and texturing from it. If you leave it slightly raised like I have, you'll get shadows from it, and shadows are a visual cue. So there's so much power in light work, and you know, they've brought out some insanely beautiful light works across the board, and it's one, as soon as they bring one out, I'm always excited by it, because how can I explain it? It gives me a value to the card, but it doesn't detract anything, or I'm not fighting with it with colour. I don't have to worry about that. It'll just give me this visual point of beauty, and so it works in that way. Sorry, I hope that helps. I'm not particularly great at explaining these things. So this is going to go and sit at the bottom, and I need it to be lined up. So the first thing that I'm going to do is take this, and I'm going to glue it just underneath. Just one pinpoint there. Now I can open this because that's in place, and I know I've got it where I want it. Then I can take t'other bits, glue down what I need, and I am going to glue those bits because I don't want them getting bent. Just like so, and some little lines on the bottom there. Just going through and sitting. Okay, now I get to sculpt. I get to sculpt these pieces so they'll have that protrusion, and because this shapes and closes, I'm going to bowl it upwards, not downwards, because I want that bowl, that frame to come out, because it's going to be, again, a visual cue. This opens and so the flower's going to come forward from it, so I get that protrusion. So I'm going to take my larger ball tool and shape from the outside. Actually, if I turn it this way, it's got the right colour side. See all the cut lines in this? So easy to work with, and it sculpts like butter. Now change into a smaller ball tool just to work that centre point, so that I'm really doming upwards. Gives me that lift. Plenty of pin flare on this, and I'll explain why in a second. So that's a high amount of pin flare there. You could do the same with foam tape. Make sure I've got that the right way around for my decoupage. So that's going to really cup out. Okay, so dimensionally it's much higher than the rest. And the reason that I use so much pin flare is because I'm going to want to place my dogs in, you know, various spots, and I think I'm probably going to steal that centre point so he can sit behind that flower. He's very proud of his little self, and it's just super cute. So if I work this first, okay, thank you. You taught my language and now I understand. It's really difficult because I'm not really very good at explaining. I've got no art background, so I don't know technical terms. I only know my own terms. I don't have any obvious training in it. So I say what is right visually for me in my head. So it's the best I can do, I'm afraid, but I hope it helps. So let's look at his muscles. He's like Popeye. And bring that through. And then his snout at the front, take that forward. We're still going to break this line of his forehead. Even though I'm going to take it from the front, I'm still breaking the back first, because I want that paper to give. And the reason that is because I can work it twice. So I'm weakening the paper constantly, and the more I weaken the paper, the further back I can recess it. And because it's hit the back of his snout to his forehead, it means I can recess that further. If it sits like it is at the minute, I don't know how well you can see, it sits forward, which doesn't look right. So I can take this now, I've broken those fibres beautifully, and I can really recess that just with his little forehead there, and then I can work his face from the back using this small ball tool. I'm not interfering with what I've done already, and then I can start shaping out his midline. He looks like he's doing yoga, Miss Taz. Pull his head forward. Okay, what you can do if you want to add a tiny little bit more detail is just do his tongue individually. That'll look like it's pushing out from the front, and it'll give you a little added texture. So he's going to sit behind here. I'm going to fill with pin flare. And I'm just going to tuck him in. So once I've done that, I can do my extra decoupage elements for the wee orange flowers. These are just a quick, simple spiral sculpt. To that centre line. Place down and fill. Now I'm going to leave it exactly as it is because I love it. I do have an extra little chihuahua and a dog kennel. So if I did want to add extras, I could. Do I want to? No, because I really love it. I think it's just simplicity, pretty, and I love the light work sitting at the back, which halos him out and gives us a really soft, beautiful finish. If I wanted to put my little chihuahua in his house, is it a chihuahua? Then I could just slip him like that, as we did before. I could low line him. I could put him to the side. I just think I'm probably overworking the card where it's unnecessary and it's a visual I don't really need. So I'm going to leave it where it is with that clean, fresh tone, that absolutely beautiful opening and that curvature that follows. Obviously the inside of that card panel with that layer, because it's just really, really sweet. So let's have a look. I'm just going to pop this forward so you can see. Look how pretty. Gorgeous, isn't he? Right, I'm going to very, very quickly, if it's okay with Miss Taz, can I just very quickly run through the boards? I'm not going to show you them all in full, but while you're all still purchasing, I just want you to be able to see the colourways, because this is what will be on the Tinterweb for you this afternoon for all your free artwork that you can get from www.carnationcrafts.co.uk. So this is the original colour work that we're looking at here. This is all of the original work. Then you've got, look, isn't that gorgeous? Just so many. But then you've got your alternative colourways. We need the white here so you can see it. Let me just sideline that way so you can see the colours. So you've got extra colourways for the dogs. All right, you see it? And then once more into the breach, my friends. Once more into the breach. All of that beautiful, beautiful colourway coming through so you can see them all in all of their glory. So that's a whacking load of free artwork. Huge amounts of free artwork that you're getting with this collection, which is incredibly generous, because instead of just giving us one colourway, we've got some additionals. I hope all of that helped. Now, let me talk to you about next week, because next week is incredibly exciting. I love, love, love new launch. It is one of my best times. We have got a brand new collection for you next week called Adventure Awaits, and it's beautiful. It's really, really beautiful. Then on Friday next week, Carnation are releasing I can't say too much, hold on. Carnation are releasing a brand new concept. Brand new card kit. It's a brand new concept. It's not what Carnation normally do. This is incredible. And it's designed for people who are first coming into card making, or people who are just, you know, passionate card makers, experienced card makers, but it's something they've never done before. It's nothing like we've sold before. And that's going to have a show for it on Friday with Taz and I. Now, Taz and I are going to do an unboxing of it for you on Thursday at 4 p.m. And we'll do that here in the studio. We'll unbox it in front of you so you can see exactly what's inside that incredible box, how it works. I won't be demoing. I'll just be showing you what you get, showing you how it works. Then on Friday, we'll have the show with it and I'll show you how to put it all together. It's crazy good. It's a brand new concept and it's incredible. And I can't wait. Can you wait, Miss Taz?
I love it.
You do love it. I know she's very, very excited. We will come to that next week. In the meantime, I am on Hobby Maker on Tuesday with Adventure Awaits. No, Wednesday. Oh, I don't know the days. Wednesday. Thank you, Miss Taz. It's very good that she looks after me. So on Wednesday, I will be with you on Hobby Maker. So please do come and say hello, because it does mean the world when I see the Carnation Army. What's wrong, Miss Taz? It's 1, 4 and 7. Apparently I'm on Hobby Maker on Wednesday. Thank you for your help. So yes, so please do, as the army, come and say hello, because it means everything. In the meantime, please do take really good care of yourselves. Be nice to yourselves and treat yourself like goddesses and gods. I will see you next week. Take care. Bye.